Awesome, man. And I have Gonzalo Corzo here on the podcast with Pushing the Edge. And if you're not familiar with Gonzalo, you need to check him out on his Instagram handle. We'll make sure we have that in the link on this. But Gonzalo is a president at Cash Geeks Home Buyers in Jacksonville, Florida. And they're not just a typical home buying company. This is actually the 12th fastest growing company in the area. And they got voted as one of the best places to work. So that is really what intrigued me about this interview because a lot of people wholesale, a lot of people do real estate, but not a lot of people build successful companies. So I really appreciate you being on the podcast today, man.
Dude, I appreciate that, man. That's a great intro. Thanks for doing some research on us, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's really what I want to jump into, man. Because so for me, we're located here in Houston, Texas. We actually have a flip going on in
Okay.
Jacksonville right now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's ugly, man. It's not good right now, but I
I
hope
gotcha.
it. I
Well,
hope we can.
let me know if I can help in any way.
Actually, I probably will. I'll go off on a tangent, but there's a squatter in there right now. So, anyways,
Oh, hell yeah.
yeah, we're working on that. But I really, where my business is building a team, scaling, growing. I know a lot of people can kind of relate to that, especially if, in the real estate space, wanting to build a team and scale their operations. But I've been through a lot of masterminds. I've been a part of masterminds. Not very many people, I feel like, have it figured out. And with what you and your partner doing at Cash Geeks is really, really powerful. So I kind of want to, I want to jump in a little bit about how you got into real estate, but more of kind of where you guys are now and kind of, how you're able to build the operation you're at now. So how did you guys get into real estate and then how did you kind of build up to where you are now?
Yeah, great question. So I got into real estate when I was 19. My older brother took me to a real estate event, and that kind of opened up my mind to becoming an entrepreneur and becoming a business owner and working for myself. I didn't know wholesaling was going to be the path, but that's what that first event did for me. My older brother's a realtor, and he kind of took me to a personal development event that was put on by a bunch of real estate people. So naturally, I was attracted to real estate. I didn't want to be like my older brother though and become a realtor.
Right.
So I found out about wholesaling, and that's kind of what I just wanted to get into in the beginning. So I convinced my parents to, let me take 6 months out of college to go pursue this real estate thing. And if it didn't work out, I'd be back in school. And in that time frame, I ended up working for free for a real estate investor, kind of like interning at a real estate investment company.
Mhm.
They didn't really focus too much on wholesaling, but they had wholesale deals going, and they were mainly brokerage and flippers. And so my goal was to kind of take their wholesaling department and run with it. And it kind of worked out. And I got a ton of experience working there. And then about a year and a half into it, almost 2 years, I broke off on my own. And my business partner now, Dominic, he was actually selling his rental portfolio back in 2016, 2017, because he wanted to sell off his rental properties, get some capital, and start a new business.
Mhm.
And so that is how me and my business partner met. He was actually a seller of mine, and I wholesaled his properties to an investment company that I was working with. I
Wow.
was I was just getting a 2K fee per deal that I was working for that fund, and we bought the first one, and then we ended up doing five more. And through that process of buying five properties off of him, we got to know each other a little bit more, got to know about his business, my business. Things became way more transparent at that point, and we decided to partner up in 2017. Beginning of 2017, we threw some money together into sending out some mailers, and I would say because I had experience wholesaling already, right? I worked for a wholesale company. So because I had experience with that already, within our first month, we did like 25 grand
That's pretty good.
on
Yeah.
just two deals,
Yeah.
or close to 25 grand. One was 13 and 7 and change. So 13 and change. So it was like 22 grand. And at that point, my business partner, Dom, was like, holy crap, this works. I'm
Yeah.
shutting down the other business and I'm going all in. And a lot of the business side of Cash Geeks and how we've grown so much as a true company comes from my business partner, right?
Mm.
That's his background. He started a property preservation company in like 2011, right when the market was starting to get better. And there was crazy amount of foreclosures. So his
Right.
business skyrocketed because he was basically servicing foreclosures for banks. As the market got better, foreclosure inventory dried up and his business was not growing. And
Mm.
that's why he was selling his rental properties and sold that business off. Um, and so at his height, he had like 35, 40 employees. He was in 8 different states with that business. So he had the experience of building out a company and hiring people and managers and payroll and
Right.
employee handbook and firing people and all that stuff, right? When I met my business partner, I hadn't even filed taxes ever in my lifetime.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome.
I bring a lot of the real estate, networking, relationships, the deals knowledge, the real estate knowledge,
Hmm.
and he brings a lot of the business knowledge. Like I had never been part of corporate America, right? So I'd
Right.
never seen what a handbook looked like. I don't know what it means to be written up
Right.
and to get in
Right.
trouble and what's the proper way that what's the way corporate America fires someone,
Right.
right? So us kind of joining together is what has blown Cash Geeks up now. So now we have 30 employees here in the office.
Mm.
We did 4 million in revenue last year. We've
Wow.
done almost 4 million this year so far. Um, and we have 33 virtual agents out of the office. We've done over 200, about 250 deals this year so far. So our approach is, and people don't like this, or I feel like people stay away from this, but it's like, how can we combine corporate America with wholesaling,
I love it.
right? And
Yeah.
that's how we really build a Fortune 500 company, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just modeling what they've already done. And you can't build a business like you treat yourself as a side hustle, right?
Yes.
You need
Absolutely.
proper clock in, clock out time frames, right?
Yeah.
What time does everybody go to lunch? Oh, you just go to lunch when you're hungry. Dude, is that what they do in corporate America? No.
No.
Corporate
Yeah.
America, they clock in, they go to lunch, they have this. So it's really combining that in every aspect, right?
That's
Like
huge.
how does somebody get in trouble, right? When they get in trouble, okay, we have to have a certain process of writing them up and this and
Right.
that. And so that is really what has blown us up and allowed for Cashies to become, small like corporation, right?
Right.
And now we have the managers in place that are managing the team, and we have a CFO, and we have business development guys. Like I've recruited a guy out of Tesla, right? To just, hey, we want to treat this like a true corporation, a true business. And that's what got us here, but it's also saying no, right? So like this year we're flipping our first properties ever. We never flipped houses. Last year in December we bought our first rentals. So for the
Wow.
first almost 5 years, we said no to everything else, right? Hey, this would be a great flip deal. Cool, let's wholesale it. Hey, this would be a great bird. Let's keep it as a rental. Nope, let's wholesale it, right? And that gives you the money to really reinvest into your business,
Right.
right? Because
Right.
for us, let's say you need a flip, you're doing a flip. Hey, you're going to make a lot of money, but you're not going to make that money until 6 months from now. So what does that
Absolutely.
make you do? That makes you keep your business super lean because you don't have cash flow coming in. And so when
Absolutely.
you keep your business lean, you don't hire a big corporation, right? You have a
Right.
small team, you have small entrepreneurs, and it's way harder to do the corporate America approach to a company of 4 people. They're just going to
Yes.
quit. They hate it, right? That you need a different kind of culture there.
Yep.
And so for us, by us saying no to everything else and just reinvesting everything into our company, we were really able to scale up and blow up.
That's huge, man. And I love what you're saying about, combining corporate America with with wholesaling. I feel like that's what our industry needs.
Yeah,
That's what
100%.
I feel like that's what our industry needs. And I actually wrote this down before our interview here. I was trying to summarize kind of what I felt like this interview is going to go like, and I put professionalizing real estate wholesaling.
There
You
you
know,
go.
and
Yeah,
and that's I have the same desire as well. My partner, he's an older gentleman. He worked at Exxon. He was a financial controller at Exxon,
yeah, yeah.
and
It's a great
University,
asset.
yeah, University of Chicago finance. I mean, so Gonzalo, like we have similar stories. I graduated high school and started working at the YMCA.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So like I don't know what it's like, dude. I've never had a real job.
yep, yep.
I was a personal trainer. I sold cars, I got into real estate, but I've never had a typical 9 to 5, so to speak. So
Right.
having him as an asset has been really important for us. And we have a long ways to grow. We're in that development stage right now, but like having the mindset of like you can really take this niche of real estate and really blow it up to a really big level. And I feel like a lot of people, I know there's companies that have done it. There's a company there in Florida, Property Force. I think
Yep.
they're a great company. There's other companies as well, but and obviously you guys, but there's not I feel like a lot that have done that. But I feel like that's where our industry's heading. It's
Yeah,
like if you're not professionalizing and sort of building businesses, I just don't, I don't know if it's sustainable, to be the one-off guy for so long,
I agree. I agree. Yeah, I think that when you look at the realtor industry, right? Like you you're hitting the nail on the head when our our industry is super new.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of these big companies, not because it's hard to figure out whatever. It's just a new industry,
Yep.
right? It's always been something that's been done, but it's never been a a business model where we're going to wholesale, right?
Right.
It's happened. Assignment of contracts have happened forever, but it's
Yep.
never been a business model,
Yep.
and so that's very recent. And when you look at realtors, right? We model a lot of the real estate agent industry because it is a similar line of business to our line of business and it's been around, right?
Yes.
And so when you look at real estate agents, the stats are something like, 90% of the transactions are done by like 10% of the realtors,
Crazy.
right?
Yeah.
And so that's inevitable. I think that's inevitable in the wholesale business, right? And so what we want to do is we want to be like the top realtors, the top 10% of realtors that are doing 90% of the volume, right? And let the other 90% of wholesalers do 10% of the volume, right?
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
obviously don't quote me on those numbers,
Yeah.
but I know it's something like that, right? Something
Yeah.
ridiculous. And so when you look at the real estate top performers, that's who we need to model. And what does
Yes.
that mean? When you go and see a top performer, you do not see a one-man show,
Right.
right? When you go and study the top real estate agents, it's usually teams slash brokerages,
Mm.
right? So they're
Yep.
either under a brokerage and they have their own team, or they have their own brokerages, right?
Right.
And in that brokerage, they have their own team. And
Right.
so it's really looking at that industry because it's been around and it's yeah, I mean, realtors have been cold calling for decades,
Yep.
right? All these
Exactly.
programs that are coming out for wholesalers to cold call and all that, like, dude, realtors have been doing that for decades, right?
Exactly.
And so I feel like wholesalers lack the ability to understand that our industry is untapped and it's
Hmm.
also undiscovered. And
Yep.
so everybody models the top wholesalers, but the top wholesalers are capped in our industry
Yes.
because we're new. So the ones
Yes.
that are crushing it sometimes do business models of other industries or other businesses, right? And that's what we've learned is, hey, wholesaling is awesome and we can learn wholesaling from a bunch of people, but we can't learn how to build a wholesale business from a bunch of people.
Absolutely.
So we have to learn how to build a business with a similar business model that we can then try, test, figure out. Maybe some things don't match up, whatever. But to give you an example, like if you read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent by Gary Keller,
Hmm.
that book changed our business, right? And he has a diagram in that book that talks about the 7 levels of getting to become a millionaire real estate agent. And doing that is exactly what I think the path is to a wholesaler, right? It's
Right.
exactly that. It just changed instead of getting a buyer's agent, that's dispo. Instead of getting a listing agent, that's acquisitions,
Right.
right? Transaction coordination is the same. A runner is a runner, but it
Hmm.
basically talks about building this level 7 business where you can become a multi-millionaire real estate agent. And so it's like, hey, we need to just model that inside of the wholesale industry. And then we just built around that. Um, so for us, it's just been modeling realtors a lot
I love it.
and going that model. So when you look at that bottom or the top 10% of realtors, they all have massive companies,
Yes, they do.
right? They all have
100%.
a big team. If you know realtors that are crushing it, there's realtor teams that are 100 plus people, right?
Yes.
And
Yep.
it's like, hey, I work for the Cash Geeks team
Yep.
at Keller Williams, and we're 150 people. I work on the listing side. I work on the buyer side. No, I'm a transaction coordinator for this team. And so like, that's the direction that we've followed. And
That's
it's not
huge.
perfect, right? It's
Yeah.
not perfect because it's a different industry. So the marketing is different. The way that you get paid is different. The way that we pay our people is different, right? Because the one thing that's different from the realtor industry, and it doesn't have to be different in our model, but in the brokerage model and the team model, everybody's commission based,
Right.
100% commission based. Everybody's a realtor, right?
Right.
It's like, hey, go hunt your own business. You can go do this, you can go do that. That's a little bit different than my company, right? So we've taken the more W-2 plus bonus kind of approach, and we found that works better for us.
Right. Right.
And so obviously it's not perfect, right? It's not apples to apples, but these are the industries that we've had to model in order to blow up to become who we've become. Because there's, like you said, there's not a lot of wholesalers that have huge corporate operations.
I love it, man. And that's why why do you feel like we don't have that? I mean, I feel like we see a lot of, you know, um, the make the cold calls, get the one lick, you know,
Yep.
why don't you see, is it because of a lack of vision? I mean, why do you think our industry doesn't see a lot of the bigger picture when it comes to this opportunity in our space?
That's a great question. I want to say that it's not abnormal than any other industry, right?
Right.
So for example, it's it's really the difference of the 1%, right? You got to
Mm.
think like the 1%. Most wholesalers don't think like the 1%. Most
Wow.
wholesalers, they think like the maybe the top 20%, right?
Right.
Self-employed, right?
Right.
But you need to think like the 1%, the true entrepreneurs, the true business owners, right? So but that's in every industry, right? Just
Yeah.
like I said, like realtors, right? Just that top 10% have figured out, and they think like the 1% of the wealthy, right? And
Right.
they think
Right.
like a true business, true entrepreneurship. The others just want that quick lick, or they just want financial freedom and work whenever they want and whatever. And
Yeah.
so it does come from that lack of vision. It does come from that, what do I really want out of my life? And what do I want to build in my life? So most people getting into the wholesale industry or becoming realtors or becoming mortgage lenders or whatever, they just want to pay the bills and make 6 figures,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
And
Yep.
so if that's your desire, that's what you're aiming for, you're not gonna, we didn't stumble into what we built. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like
Yeah.
our goal wasn't to make 6 figures wholesaling,
Right.
right? Our goal was from the very beginning was to build a massive wholesale company. And
Mm.
so that's what you aim for. Most people don't do that. Most people are just like, hey, how can I make 6 figures?
Right.
Right.
That's
And
so
so that's
true.
the goal. And so that's where they're going to get. And that's why there's so many uh, people in our industry that don't build something like what we've built, right? Or the property forces or the new Westerns or whatever, is
Right.
because that mindset of being a true business owner and being a true entrepreneur and a leader for your corporation, that's very rare.
Right.
And so it's also hard to go that route,
It is.
right?
Yeah.
I know people who have made six figures their first year in wholesaling. I didn't take home six figures wholesaling till like my third year or fourth year
See
because
that
of
that was
reinvesting
yeah.
and
Yeah.
not caring what I'm making. And my mission is not to make six figures. My mission is to have managers running a business for me. And so when
Absolutely.
that's the mission, when you close a deal, you're not worried about the cars or the bills or the how big is my house or whatever. The mission is okay, the mission is to hire more people. Cool. So then I need that money to hire more people.
That's
Right.
huge.
And so it is the harder path also, right? It's a lot harder to make sacrifices in your business and to reinvest into marketing and to reinvest into hiring people. And it just delays the growth of your business a little bit. Or at least it feels like it. When you know what
Hmm.
you're doing, you know it's part of it, right?
Right.
It's like, hey, I'm going to eat crap for the next 2 years, but my business is going to be crushing it, and then I'll be rewarded.
Absolutely.
And so I feel like that's missing in the social media world of
That.
hustle and entrepreneurship and
Yep.
whatever, right? Entrepreneurship has become a hustle mentality. And
That's
that's
so
not
true.
really what entrepreneurship is,
So true,
right?
man. Yeah.
Entrepreneurship is creating a business. And what is a business? A business is a system that's operated by people that creates a result. And so people, and I'm referencing the cash flow quadrant, right, by
Yeah.
Robert Kiyosaki.
Hmm.
I feel like everybody reads Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that's the message of social media. It's like, hey, you can be a hustler, you can work for yourself, you can do whatever. But social media doesn't cover the other book, the cash flow quadrant,
Mm.
which is, hey, turns out we're not really entrepreneurs. How many people, flexing on social
It's
media?
so true.
I will say it. I'm still not yet a true business owner. I'm in the
Right.
office, I'm operating, I'm
Me
growing it.
too. Me
I
too.
am not a true business owner just yet,
Right.
right? And I have no problem saying that because I know what my vision is and what my end all
Absolutely.
be all is. So just because you own a LLC doesn't mean you're a business owner and you're an entrepreneur, right?
Absolutely.
But that's not what social media tells you. Social media tells you that, hey, if you work whenever you want to work and you wake up whenever you want to wake up and you make the money that you want to make, you're an entrepreneur.
Right.
And no, you're just self-employed,
Yeah.
right?
You're
You're
a
just
high paying salesperson.
exactly. And so that's what the barrier is for a lot of people. That's what they want to achieve. And so they get there. And once you're there, like it's not all fun and games, right? Even
Right.
in that self-employed world.
Yeah.
So you're constantly working, you're always working, you're constantly doing deals, hiring more
Yep.
people, whatever. But until you get that mindset of I'm going to be a business owner and it doesn't matter what I make. What matters is what my business makes
Mm.
and how is the business paying the bills? Do I have an office? Right?
Right.
Name a Fortune 500 company that doesn't have an office,
Agreed.
right?
Agreed.
You can't.
Yes.
And it's like,
Yep.
no, man, I don't want to go virtual, right?
Yeah.
Or I want to go virtual. I don't need employees in my
Yeah.
office because then I got payroll and then I got expenses. It's like, bro, are you kidding me? The
Yep.
biggest corporations operate off of freaking 8% bottom line.
It's
You know what I
true.
mean?
Yes. Absolutely.
So once you shift that thinking, game over, right? Because
Yeah.
none of our competition is thinking that way. But
No.
it's so hard to stay on that path when you go onto social media and you see some dumb dudes that are crushing it in wholesaling,
Yeah.
right? And they're making money. And you're just like, shit, dude, I'm not making that money.
Right.
Right. And so you're just like, am I really doing the right thing? Should I
Right.
continue down this path? Am I just beating a dead horse? Like, hey, my business made a ton of money, but I barely took anything home.
Right.
Is that the right thing?
Right.
Or, I'm tired of this, right? That
Right.
delayed gratification is delayed way too much. So I
Right.
need gratification now. Right.
Right.
And
Right.
so we fall into that pit of, oh, how many rental properties do you own?
Right.
Right. It's like, dude, my business was doing $1 million a year, 2 million, $3 million a year, and I still didn't own rental properties.
That's
Right.
awesome.
And
Yeah, it's
so
crazy.
it's just like everybody gets caught up in this world of, oh, I need to own houses and I need to make money. I need to have a nice car. I need to have a bigger house, whatever. dude, I freaking lived in a mobile home my first year in business,
Right.
right? And the only reason I moved is because I got a girlfriend. Because if
Yeah.
I didn't have a girlfriend yet, I would have stayed in that thing.
I feel you on that, man. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just feel like that's what's lacking, and that's why we're so excited to keep growing our business, and that's why we feel we've disrupted also, right? Because when people come to work for me, they work for a real corporation, right? They
Absolutely.
feel like they're working for a startup, right?
Yep.
They feel like they're working for the next big company in the country, right? And
Absolutely.
so because we've treated it that way, we've been able to attract way better talent than your average Joe Schmo wholesaler is going to
Right.
attract, right? Because like, hey, do I
Absolutely.
want to go work for this company and get paid well, or do I want to go work for this guy and get paid well? I'm going to
Right.
go for this company because they offer benefits. They have awesome team culture. They do company outings. They do have all
Yep.
of this. And this guy, hey, I can make the same amount of money, or maybe make a little bit more, but I don't know if he's going to go out of business next month. I don't know, like
So true.
where do I show up to work? No, work is in my laptop. It's like cool, awesome, but so I just feel like that caliber of individual who comes to the office, who goes to work, to higher caliber of some dude that just working on his laptop. That's my opinion, right? I think it
Yeah.
works great for entrepreneurs. And if you're a self-motivated wholesaler, dude, you can work from a computer, you can work from whatever. But when you hire a $30,000 employee, right, annually, they can't work from a computer. They need
Right.
to be in the office. They need to be told what to do. They need to clock in. They need to clock out. They need to, or else they're just not going to perform. And you're going to blame them, but it's really your systems, your processes, your leadership, your monitoring of your team, and what is the company culture like? How does everybody feel going to work? If they're dependent on themselves to create their own culture and create their own energy, like it's got to be very tough. You need to overpay constantly, and then it makes it harder to scale because you're constantly overpaying for people, and you need to keep the expenses low. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I love it, man. This is high level stuff that I feel like number one, I'm in complete alignment with what you're saying. I feel the exact same way. I got into, I think it was my third year in real estate. Um, I did pretty well for myself. I was a solo operation, and dude, I was working so many hours, and I did well. I was doing like 5 deals a month by myself, right? And that's a
hell
lot
yeah,
of that's a lot of deals, dude. Like it's a lot.
yeah,
And it was so bad due to stress, I broke out into hives due to stress because
dude, I
I'm
had the hives. I had hives. Oh, I
you
love
know,
it.
and I had a come into Jesus moment where I sat down, I was like, why am I doing this? I was like, if I'm
Mm,
doing this just for income, dude, I can go get a job. I can,
yes.
I can, I can go, do pharmaceutical sales
Yep.
or sell whatever, and you can make six figures. And I made a decision. Then I was like, I want to build a real company,
Yeah.
and I think everything you're saying, I wish other people, but like I said, it's the 1%, right? So it's of course that's only a small amount of people think like that, but I encourage that the people that do think like that or want that, I want for the marketplace sake for them to take action and start doing that because I feel like
Yeah.
the marketplace needs that more. And also, when you're employing people, you're changing lives,
Yes.
and you're creating
Yes.
opportunities for others that I feel like you said, in our social media world, completely gets overlooked. We look at people like they're garbage. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm going to have five VAs. They're just a number. They don't mean anything to me. They're just some dude, in the Philippines or in Egypt or whatever. I can fire them. I don't have to see them face to face. I don't have to have uncomfortable conversations. Um, no one's holding. I feel like this is the culture. No one's holding me accountable. I can sleep until noon. I
Yep.
can, dude. I'm kind of, I'm 37. I'll be 38 this year, but I'm just a little old school. I feel like there's there is there's some goodness to showing up, building, being consistent, showing up to the office. Yeah, you're the owner, but you still have, showing up, showing your people that you care. I feel like in that process, you get another reward other than just the money. You grow personally, you grow mentally, emotionally, you take yourself to another level. But I feel like that not only will help us in the real estate space, but if you want to create other businesses as well, you know, so
Yes.
it's taking yourself to another level. And so everything you said, man, I'm just completely on board. I'm glad you're saying it because I feel like our industry needs more of this mentality. Let's talk about the challenges. I mean, you know, having 30 employees,
Yeah.
man, I know that's not easy. What were the challenges, you know, in the beginning, kind of going from
Yeah.
a smaller team into hiring people and building a more of a team culture?
Yeah. So I would say the main challenge in the beginning is building the systems that will allow you to have confidence to delegate, right? Because I
Mm,
feel like that's what stops a lot of people from hiring is when they hire someone, they think they have systems, but you really don't,
mm,
right? And so for us, the challenge of hiring people and hiring more and more and more people has always been, even till this day, even till right now, is the SOPs
right.
and the standard operating procedures, right? The KPIs of
Hmm.
not like your cost per deal and your whatever. It's like, okay, how many deals should an acquisition manager lock up based on X amount of calls, right?
Right.
And it's creating all those things is always the challenge, because the business is, as you know, every single day you're building new, you're figuring
Yes.
it out, you have a new program, you have a new this, right? And so it's like, as I'm figuring it out, cool, my SOP was built for this program, now I'm no longer using that program, so now
Right.
I need to build an SOP to cover that. And so that's always the challenge with hiring people, is how good are your systems and processes. And no matter how good you think dude, people will come into my office and be like, bro, these systems are insane, you have this checklist for this and checklist for that I'm like, dude, we have 300 things left to do for our SOP, and we have to redo our SOP on this because we just changed the process on that,
Right.
right?
Right.
And then we're about to change to we're changing CRMs right now. We were on Podio. We're about to change over to Salesforce. So
Mm.
all those processes that we have built out for Podio, that we've built for the past 5 years, is gone. And now
Wow.
we have to
Yep.
redo them all for Salesforce, retrain the team. And so it's a lot of it is how good are your systems and processes? And you think you have one level of process and everything, that's fine. But then, real estate, this deal, it's a new deal, new
Yep.
scenario, new
Yes.
whatever,
Yeah.
squatter in the freaking flip.
Yeah.
Okay, shit, we don't have SOPs for squatters in the flip. So
Yeah.
now we got to figure that out,
Yep.
right? And so that's always that's constantly been our challenge with building out the team is number one, is the process that they're following. How can we dumb down the process? And when I say dumb down, it's not uh, because we have dumb people. It's because you can't make exceptions on everything, right? It's
Right.
understanding that once you go the business uh, corporate route, you have to say no to things that you as an individual wouldn't say no to,
Right.
right? It's like,
Right.
hey, for example, my office is open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. What does that mean? The solo dude, he's grinding on the weekends, he's grinding
Yeah.
that. Oh, but gee, are you missing out on deals on the weekend? Yes. Yes, we're missing out
Yep.
on deals on the weekend. Seller
Yep.
calls after 6. Guess what? If the sales guy isn't hungry enough to answer it, we're missing out on that deal.
Right.
I mean, but that's just the reality of it, right? In a perfect world, you are trying to capture 100% of everything.
Right.
When you go the business route and the hiring route and the employees route, they're not going to do 100% of it. So just
Right.
be happy with 70%, right?
Right.
Because the goal of hiring people isn't for them to do as good of a job as you did. It's for you to be able to get at least some of the results that you're doing, but now you have enough time and money and volume to go hire 3 more,
Yeah, that's
right?
powerful.
So now
Yeah.
3 people are doing 70% of what you're doing. That's, I'm not the best at math, but that's what, 221
Yeah.
or 210% of what
Hmm.
you were doing. So now you're
Right.
really doing more. Um, And so that's the power of scaling and hiring a team. But the challenge is, what are your systems and processes? And then how do you know what to hold them accountable for? Right.
Right.
So it's building out those kind of KPIs, but on them.
That's huge, man. That's huge. And you're right. I mean, it's like it's a never I feel like it's an always evolving thing, you know, and we're not near where you guys are, but just the little bit of changes that we do. It's like, oh, this is a new thing. This is a new system or a new way that we need to, you know, dispel our deals to our buyers, or there are so many different variables. Um, I think that's really, really huge, is to have those SOPs and your systems in place. But that's becoming a true business owner, right? And you
Correct.
know, and I like what you said
Correct.
also about having, you know, yeah, it's 9 to 6, you know, but what I also feel like is how many solo shops or two-man shops or whatever are really truly working 40, I mean,
Right.
really working. So they might work Saturdays at 1 o'clock, but they also woke up at 10 and
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
you know,
100%.
and
100%.
then on Monday they're at, you know, the Starbucks, you know, all
Yep.
day. So it's like I still feel like having that focused effort weekly and consistently is so much more powerful than the you know, because I've done different models. We're here in office in Houston, and I'm like
Nice.
I'm an office guy. I
Yep.
tried the hey, work from home, man. It's all good. Just do your that shit
Oh,
don't work,
dude.
dude. That shit don't
Shit
work.
don't work.
You know, I mean, because it's 11 a.m., they're still sleeping. I've had guys where it's like, bro, what are you doing? You know, and
Yep.
then you know, then they go to the Starbucks and then they try to make calls, and then these costly leads don't get, it's like, you know, just old fashioned,
Dude.
show up.
100%, man. I
Like
couldn't agree more,
it
man.
doesn't,
Couldn't
like, you
agree
don't have
more.
to complicate it. Like just show
Yep.
up and be consistent, you know? So
Yeah. Yeah.
I love what
And
you said.
that's also why we don't go the 100% commission route, right?
Yeah.
Because if you go the 100% commission route, it's tougher to hire employees,
Right.
right? When you hire 100% commission route, they think they're entrepreneurs. They
Right.
think they're business owners,
Right.
right? And they're only going to work as hard as they need to. And so when you have
Exactly.
a guy who's used to making 50K a year, of course he's going to want to make 100 grand a year. Who doesn't? But as
Right.
soon as he's making 55K, dude, I'm living better than ever. What does
Yeah.
that mean? That means all that dude needs is one deal a month,
It's so crazy.
right?
It's so
And so
true.
it's
Yeah.
like, okay, so my company cannot live off of one person getting one deal a month.
Right.
So I need to be able to tell this person, hey, you have to come in at this time, you need to leave at this time, and you're responsible for 11 contracts a month. That's the number
Wow.
for my guys, right?
Wow.
So
That's
they have to
huge.
get 11 contracts a month. Doesn't matter what their income goal is,
Right.
right? Now, obviously, the better they do, the more income they will make. And we're constantly tracking that to make sure all of my sales guys are hitting six figures, right?
Right.
That's what I take pride in. I take pride in people never wanting to leave, right? Because if I
Right.
left, I'd make less money and I'd be having less fun. So I want to stay at
Right.
Cashews for the rest of my life because I'm making boohoo bucks and I love it. I love coming to work every day. It's fun. It's
Right.
awesome, whatever, right? So that is main reason why we don't hire commission only dudes. It is tough to do that with commission only dudes. I'm not saying it can't be done, and people
Yeah.
do it all the time.
Yeah.
But for us, we've just found the perfect formula for us is decent salary mixed with a good bonus per deal that they close. Now they are very well paid
Right.
employees, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And obviously, this is my acquisitions guy is a different type of person than I have in TC. Different type of
Absolutely.
person that I have on the admin side is that, obviously.
Right.
But at the end of the day, they come to work every day and they get contracts every day.
Right.
Doesn't matter if you just only want to make 40 grand a year. That's awesome. But you
Right.
can't do that here, right?
Right.
Or if you only want to make that, dude, cold call for me. I'd love that, right?
Yeah.
I'd love for you to just cold call for me. We'd be better off, all of us, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's huge, man. Let's kind of go into the current market. You know, so interest rates are rising.
Yep.
There's a lot of like people are freaking out, the world's falling apart. What do you see for the wholesaling business in like 2023? Do you see more opportunity, less opportunity? Kind of what are y'all's outlook on this changing market?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think in 2023, which is what we're in the middle of doing now, is refocusing and retargeting on dispo, right?
Mm,
And then it's immediately taking that feedback and pushing it into acquisitions and into our marketing, right? So what I mean by that is right now we're trying to see who's still buying and what are they paying. What I
right.
mean, what are they paying? It's like what percentage of value are they paying? Because that affects your acquisitions and that affects your marketing. Because if
Absolutely.
these people in this market are no longer buying, then we should no longer be marketing there. And if these
Absolutely.
people in this market are still buying, but they're only buying at 60 cents on the dollar, then that means I need to either change my buyers list, which you have to continuously do both as a wholesaler. I need to see buyers who are paying more than 50, 60%. And if I can't find that, then I need to be offering 40 and
Mm,
30%. And it
absolutely.
just and right now it feels weird because we have to get out of our own way and say, hey, 2 months ago I could offer this lady 100 grand and now I have to offer 70. That doesn't
Yeah.
make sense, man. That's weird. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
that's just the reality of it,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
we have to, and you have to break this down to sellers, right? But just to give you an example, I was just doing this um as an example to somebody, but I took my house, right? I bought my house in 2021. I got 2.7% interest rate,
It's
right?
awesome. Yep.
And to buy my same house, I bought it for 331,000. For me today to get that same monthly payment, my property is $100,000 lower, 230,000.
Wow.
I did 7% interest.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. But that's pretty
and
that's pretty
so
much where it's at, close to it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so even if you get a 6.5, right? Like, dude, it's $100,000 dip. And so you can be like, well, it's gonna be fine. People are still buying, blah, 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 blah. Like you can be, but when you have a company of 30 people
You
that
have
you're
to
responsible
adjust.
for, we
Yeah.
have to look out on the horizon. We have to look farther ahead. We have to adjust now so we're prepared for what's coming. We have to make adjustments on our spending and on our budgets, right? And on our hiring, right? Right
Right.
now, we're not as aggressive on hiring right now,
Right.
right? We're just trying to basically maximize the team that we have and to adjust on the acquisition. So what we've done is because we saw lots of hedge funds, so we're analyzing all the hedge funds on what they're buying, who's not buying anymore, who's adjusted, and so we've had to adjust our offer price, right? So we're now offering 78% of ARV for our hedge fund deals,
Mm.
right? And then on our wholesale deals, what we're going to do, we're still going back and forth on what exactly we're going to do as far as how we're going to adjust for it. We're either going to adjust ARV. So what I mean by that is, hey, ARV is X, let's take off 10%. And now that's the number that we're going off of.
Right.
So we don't know if we're going to do that or if we're just going to stick with ARV and just lower the percentage. It's really going to do both.
Right.
But I don't know exactly yet what we're going to do on our traditional wholesale deals, if we're going to adjust for the ARV or if we're just going to adjust our purchase price
Right.
value. But yeah, man. So in this market right now, it's scary, right? Because it becomes when you're at our level, predictability is the most important thing. And right
Absolutely.
now, we have the least predictability that I've ever had in business,
Right.
right? Number one, I don't know what buyers are going to be buying at next week,
Right.
right? So what that means is my acquisitions department and my marketing department is kind of flying blind, right?
Right.
And we're just hoping shit works. And that's just
Right.
the reality of it, right? But
Yeah.
it's just like, hey, all we can do is adjust our buy numbers. We're going to get less contracts, but that's okay because we're going to have less fallout and we know that what we get will stick, right? As
Absolutely.
opposed to just, we don't want to be reactive with this. We need to be proactive with this.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the stance that we're taking. So we've adjusted our acquisitions on the hedge fund deals. We're going to adjust our acquisitions on our traditional wholesale deals. Just don't know exactly which direction we're going to do it. Like I said, either on the ARV or just lower purchase. We're trying to gather as much data as we can also, right? For us, data is everything. We never want to make decisions off our gut. We want to
Yes.
we want to look at numbers and data. So what I mean by that is we study everything inside of my business. So what I mean by that is, all right, I have a deal in this zip code at this price point. Cool. Were we able to sell it? Yes or no? No. Why weren't we able to sell it? What did the offers come in at? Okay, perfect. So now let's do that for all the past 20, because now that we're doing a lot of volume, it's great.
You have a lot of
have a lot of
data.
data.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so that's
Yeah.
what we're doing with our hedge funds and what we're doing with our traditional wholesales is, hey, let's look at the data. Okay. And you kind of have to look at the fresh data, which sucks because you don't have as much, because, you know, I could look at my whole year of business and say, hey, we have 500 contracts to go off of, but I can't go off of the 480 contracts that we got in the last 6 months. I have to go off of the last 20 contracts because that's what's happening right now. Right. And so it's like, hey, I have all this data for this year, but the market that we're in right now in October is totally different than the market in September. And it's just a
100%.
month, right?
Yeah,
so now I can only go off of what I'm trying to dispo right now to gather info on, okay, am I locking up properties too high? Am I locking up properties in the wrong area, right? Because we're multiple markets. So where is it easier for us to exit? Right now, we're also looking at how many attempts does it take per market to get a contract, because we're looking at our lists. So what I mean by that is, if we have a list of 80,000 records in Atlanta and we've gotten 150 leads from Atlanta, from that list, we got 150 leads and we got 4 contracts. What does that mean as opposed to our marketing in Indianapolis? Right. And we have a list of maybe 20,000 in Indianapolis, but we got 150 leads and we got 4 contracts.
Right.
Oh, okay. So what does that mean?
Yeah.
Right. And so we're trying to do all that literally right now as we speak, because if we had done this a week ago, it'd be inaccurate.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's not really what is today's market. And the shitty part is it's going to change in the next, 30 to 60 days anyway. And so it's like, crap, man, what do we do? But it's it is what it is, right? It's part of owning a business. It's part of being self-employed, right? It's part of working for yourself, and you want the awesome reward that entrepreneurship has to offer. Awesome. But here's the risk that it's going to take also, right? And in a turning market, you got to stay on your toes. You got to stay on your toes. Like right now is not the time to relax. Right now is 100%. Not the time to go on vacation.
Yeah.
Right now is not the time to chill.
Yeah.
I just feel like everybody needs to be working harder now than they've ever worked before. You need to be making more offers than you've ever made. Yeah. And if you overwork now and everything is fine, so be it. You'll just make a shit ton of money.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you underwork now and everything is fine, okay. But if you underwork now and everything's not fine, you're out. You're out of the game. Right. Yeah. You're looking for a job because you can't pay your bills.
Exactly.
Right? And so we're just on our toes constantly looking at lead flow, looking at dispo. What are we selling? What are we not? What's the buyer feedback? Were we able to move this property? Dude, we bought a house probably 3 weeks ago. But you know how it goes. When you decide to buy a house, you still have like 2 weeks of closing. Yeah. Right? So we decided to buy a house. We actually bought it from Property Force. We bought it off of Property Force.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
So we bought it for $65K. We're not going to do anything to it. We're just going to resell it. Mm-hmm. And, we might make like $5,000 on that deal.
Yeah.
After all the costs and all that stuff. And where before, we thought we were going to make $20,000. Right. And so that was a house we bought a month ago. Right. And it's like, crap, what does that mean? Right. That means that everything we locked up a month ago is going to be different now.
Yeah.
And everything that we lock up today might be different a month from today. So, you just kind of got to stay on your toes, stay optimistic, right? You got to stay optimistic. We'll figure this out. We'll get over this. Everybody's going through it, right?
Yeah.
Be very transparent with your sellers. Let them know, right? Like give them that number. Like if you go into Google and you type in mortgage calculator, it has a little mortgage calculator thing. Just type in the house and just tell the seller to do that and just say, sir, or ma'am, right? Pull this up. If I do the numbers, a year ago, yes, your house was worth 400. And this is why it was worth 400, because when somebody bought it, they were getting a 2.7 interest rate. Their monthly payments were $1,800.
Right.
Now somebody to pay $400,000, their monthly payments are now $3,000 a
Ah,
month.
it's crazy, man.
So what that
Yeah.
means is the buyer pool that's like this just went from this, and now this buyer's questioning, do I want to pay $400,000 and have a $3,000 monthly payment,
Right.
or do I buy a different house and have a $1,800 month payment because inventory is creeping up? So now there's more
Exactly.
options, and so
Yeah.
it's just like, Mr. Seller, the timing is not on your side,
And I think
and
that's
and
yeah, exactly, Gonzalo. I think one of the biggest challenges that we've had is the sellers are still back in 2021.
yeah,
So
yep,
it's like, hey, Mr. Seller, it's a new day. But it's hard because, a lot of it was different a year ago, was it different a month ago? But I was telling my guys this morning in our huddle is like, we got to become educators. Like we have to
yes,
put our teacher hat on. And even if we don't get the deal, let's at least give them some good information and maybe they come back to us and we have an
agreed,
opportunity. But
agreed,
right now we're getting a lot of sellers coming back to us that chose different contracts that were too high and then they couldn't close. So we're
yep,
getting a lot,
yep,
so we're getting a lot of that coming back around. But I feel like if you at least do your best to educate the seller, then it gives you an opportunity to be in the game. Because we know, I always tell my guys like there's only like 2 or 3 reasons a deal doesn't close. Price was too high, seller backed out, or there's just massive title issues. That's it.
correct.
But most of the
That's it.
time, it's the price is too high.
Yep, yep,
So it's like, don't, it's hard not to, especially on the acquisition side, because I've played that role for so long myself. It's like, it's hard not to like be scared of losing the deal.
yeah,
But man, just make a real offer so we get a real deal versus just putting someone under contract and we have to go back and
correct,
tackle.
correct.
So
And I feel like another thing is, I don't know how long you've been wholesaling, but that's just how it was,
yeah,
right? Like when I first got in the game, like, dude, it was tough to dispo shit, right? And then
yes, it
like since
was.
2020, like it was, you could just, dispo wasn't a worry, right? 2020 going
Yeah,
forward after COVID, like after all that settled, like they were just like, hey, I mean the buying right number is 80, but the seller wants 95. Shit, I'm gonna lock it up for 95 and see what happens, right?
exactly.
And
Yeah,
most of the time you were successful with it,
yes,
right?
yeah,
Or you got a max offer 95, renegotiated a little bit and made some money.
yep,
So
yep,
it's that number isn't changing. Like you were just taking more shots at a higher number, but you knew
ex
the number that you had to buy it at
a
anyway.
hundred
So
percent.
now it's just we have to buy it at that number, and it sucks, right? Because it's
Yeah,
like, well, shit, I can't get as many as I could before,
yeah,
and it's just coming into that realization as that's okay,
yeah,
right? It's okay, and we have to educate, and we're gonna take a hit. Just accept the fact that you're gonna take a hit. Your yearly goal is not gonna be hit the way you thought it would
right,
be hit, right?
right,
And if somebody's saying, "Oh, figure it out, be optimistic," blah blah blah, it's like, dude, you're not thinking long term because in 10 years this isn't gonna matter, right?
exactly.
Like 10 years from now, when Cash Geeks is 10 years from now, all we're gonna be thinking is, dude, remember how I got rocky and and when that interest
Yep,
rate thing happened
yep,
and right after COVID and all this, like we're just gonna be talking about it as if it was just part of the journey. And so it's like, hey,
absolutely.
dude, if we don't hit our freaking goal this year that we thought we were gonna hit based on the trajectory that we had last year, so be it. Right?
Right,
Like, who cares, dude? Like,
right,
obviously it sucks, but it's like, hey, we're in a shifting market. We have to adjust. Let's play it smart and let's play chess, not checkers. Right?
absolutely, brother.
And so it's like, hey, if we got to take a hit for the next 2 months because we want to come out of this strong, then so be it. We're not gonna be those dudes, beating their chest like, oh, I'm just gonna still lock it up and try to make this shit work and whatever. And
Yep,
just, 3 months from now, everybody's gonna go out of business, dude. No,
yeah,
I, I
it's
I really don't feel like we've felt the reality of what's to come yet.
I totally agree with you. And I feel like and it's sort of like I said, I don't have a crystal ball, but I'm thinking like, January, February, that's when things I feel like will, really start kind of sinking in and you're absolutely right. I mean, but also it's like you might do less deals, but if you do more quality deals, you might get some
Yeah.
bigger grosses. I mean,
Yep.
there's other, last month we we had a good month. We had less deals, but they were all quality.
Yep.
They were all quality. And then, dude, we've had months where, you know, 30 contracts and 4 close.
Yep. Yep.
You know what I mean?
100%. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, but Gonzalo, I appreciate your time, man. This was a lot of great information. I'm looking forward. I want to connect with you some more in the future, and I
Of
may
course,
actually
man.
be in Jacksonville because we have a flip going on right now. So
Dude, come by the office, man.
I
Hit me up when
will.
you're in town.
I will, man. I definitely will. But I really appreciate you, taking your time to do this, and I hope you guys, have a strong fourth quarter of the year.
Appreciate it, man. You too, man. If there's anything I can do to help out with that flip here or just in general, just let me know.
Yes, sir. Will do, brother. Thank you.
Awesome, man.
Bye.